Sophie. This is episode 2 of my Joggle Challenge, and I would like to introduce Fletch, who is my amazing coach. I found Fletch on social media. Fletch was my salvation in COVID, when Corona was all about and we all got locked down and all we had for cardio was to go out and do a run.
I'm Georgie McLean, I'm 35 and I'm going to be crazily running from Johnny Groats to Land's End in 12 months time. This is where I'm starting, up here, and this is where I'm ending up. So Fletch, what did you think when I approached you about Joggle?
I thought it was an amazing challenge. I think the limits of the human are yet really to be discovered on a grand scale, like the Olympic level, but also on a everyday level. We are capable of so much more than just the half-an-hour run.
Yeah.
And there are some people that are happy with that, and there are some people that want to push that limit, and I know you're the kind of person who wants to push those limits.
When I started running with yourself and OneTrack, I'd never run over 45 minutes.
You'll eventually be doing half marathons, potentially 3-4 times a week.
With regards to like the running and like injury, one of the things that I found quite fascinating working with you is the lack of injury I've had so far. Woo woo! Touch wood, touch wood. So you're a big advocate of like mobility, not so much stretching actually.
Different. Different.
But how do you get there safely, like, you know, with regards to like the run and incorporating like mobility, and like you make me do these mad little moves that I didn't think would do absolutely fuck all, but they seem to be doing something with my little hands,
yeah.
Paddles.
With the running, we're progressing slowly. We're not taking a 12-week approach to a marathon. We are trying to get you to get used to time on feet.
I love that saying now, time on feet. Time on feet.
When we want to go hard, we go hard for a very short amount of time.
Yeah, I don't like that. It's weird, isn't it? Like how I've gone from like, I like the grind, I call it the yellow zone grind, where I can just go for go and go and go. But when you get me to do like intervals, I don't enjoy that like, that spicy red zone anymore. And I used to thrive off that. It's amazing how you adapt, like the sort of mental thought process towards things,
yep.
What you get used to.
Well, that's the big thing, is adaptation. We're looking at adapting you from that sprinter, technically. If you took the sport away from it and just what your body's going through as part of that functional fitness, you're basically training like a 400-meter runner.
Right.
It's 1 minute efforts with recoveries over and over and over again. And we're trying to take you from that into this person who's going to be spending 4 to 6 hours per day on their feet. So you can't think like a sprinter. You can't think this over in a second. You can't think like it's that. So that's where your mind starts to adapt with your body.
So the programme, you know I'm desperado to know. Because I like a plan. I love a bit of certainty. Is there any plan?
No, because I think where we fail with regards to the fitness industry is letting people know that there's a certain way of doing things and it's inflexible. Whereas actually with you and with all of our clients, what we're trying to promote is this idea that we want to get your body to be better, and it may respond to some things and may not respond to others. So where we use things like the fitness test, we use that as a guide to help us use that as an information for our decisions.
Yeah.
So we know, okay, right, we got a really good response from that, which means we could probably go in that direction now. Or that did not respond very well. Okay, let's try this direction next and see where that kind of leads us. So there's obviously a route to go down, but there's many different paths we can take to get there. obviously it's going to be an endurance sport, so there's going to be lots of long runs, there's going to be lots of time on feet, there's going to be an aerobic base to dream of, but we can get that in many different ways, and also along the way research might change. Like, I'm very heavily informed via research, so if we look at a paper or a coach or a scientist that releases this information that could help us get more out of you for less, I'm down, and we may change your entire program based on that.
Happy days, more for less. I like the sound of that.
So we can't change the fact that it's an endurance sport and that you're going to be out there for hours per day. That's the demands of the sport, but
Yeah.
are there things that we can tweak and adjust to make sure that we're getting you to that start line a bit more safely? Because I think the big thing is mileage, time on feet, is like doing a bodyweight squat. If you did one bodyweight squat, you're fine. If you did 10,000 bodyweight squats, you feel it a bit more.
Yeah.
Imagine now doing 18 million bodyweight squats.
What?
That's potentially what you're going to be going through.
Wowie. When you put it like that, Fletch, thanks. Overwhelmed Central.
But that's the long game.
Yeah.
What we're going to try and do is get to those small landmarks along the way, get used to an idea of a marathon, get used to the idea of doing a couple of marathons, get used to the idea of doing 2 marathons in 1 week, get used to those landmarks,
Yeah.
stepping stones to make sure that we're getting you to that finish line.
God, who would have thought, Georgie, be a runner? I think this does make me a proper runner now, especially now I've met Fletch.
Well, the nice thing about the Run Club is we've got so many beginners, so many intermediates, and some advanced runners. And we've created a campaign called Not a Real Runner, because the lingo that we're sensing is that people aren't comfortable with calling themselves a real runner.
Why is that though? I don't like, why? Why do we have those feels that, you know, what is deemed as a proper runner?
There isn't any, there is no certificate, there is no badge, there's no kudos for becoming, there's no landmark to cross or border to cross. I think there's the fear of being judged.
Yeah.
Is a big part of it. So the people that are very confident about their abilities are usually the ones that are faster or fitter or can go further, and they've measured up against their peers and gone, okay, I'm about the same as them, I'm now ready. But if you put them in front of people that are Olympic athletes, they probably would shy away from that terminology and be like, oh, well, you know, I just run on the weekends.
Yeah.
So it really depends on who they're talking to and who we're talking to.
Yeah. I think it's sad, isn't it, that I think social media as well has sort of curated what people perceive to be a real runner.
Yeah.
So in some ways I think that lockdown's been really good because so many people have had to get out and run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like me.
and that's the nice thing, is people proving themselves wrong, that they are able to do it, if they can. There are some things that we should probably be putting in place with regards to safety. Like, you can do a 5K every day, but should you? No.
No.
Unless it's part of your program or part of a bigger picture. So this is the next phase of the lockdown ripple, is to then start education.
Do you want to explain, Fletch, like how your business had to pivot and like where you came from, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. We were running a run club once a week down in Chelsea. We had our own little track that we were running around, and it was free. People could just come down and join. If they wanted to run, then that was it, they could run. We wanted to remove all barriers for people to come and experience what running could be, which was community driven. It could be easy if you wanted it to be, focused around the actual physiology of the sport, and then go from there. And we were doing really cool stuff. We had 60 people coming down to run with us. People were booking in for a month in advance, and all of a sudden we had to stop. And my mental state on the idea of the gyms closing and everything else was definitely at risk, for sure.
I think everyone's wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like, it affected like so many of us, I think, that are passionate in the fitness industry, like the change and how quickly it changed and spun round.
Yeah, no, big time. And I was trying to speak to my friend who was he's an accountant, and they're like, yeah, well, it was, we all had to lock down. I was like, no, imagine accountancy did not exist anymore. And he was like, oh. And that's kind of what in my head I was going through, was like, well, my entire career's now disappeared. What if this never changes? And the idea of me losing the run club as well was just like, would have been the final nail in the coffin. And we were talking to my other half, Laura, and we were like, how can we keep this going, and what can we do to help our runners? Because we've got people who really do depend on the Monday session.
Yeah.
So we toyed with the idea previously around people dialing in live, and it just forced our hand, and we just decided to, that weekend, change our website, get everything done. Thankfully, my other half works in marketing and does websites anyway, so that was our weekend. Basically me going out for a run and her talking to a microphone and me trying to play Spotify at the same time.
Yeah, because I remember when I first found it, like it was on a spot, it was like Shopify, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was like, back to basics, but it got the job done. And I think one of the things that I really respected and couldn't believe, actually, because a lot of people in the industry were obviously going out and charging for their services, which, understandably, because, they were getting no income, you were offering it for free, which I don't know, that really that sat with me, actually. Like, there was no way that I was going to do it for free, because I felt I had to contribute something. Yeah. But the fact that you were just like offering your services and your wealth of knowledge for nothing if you wanted, I think says a lot about you as a person, and that really resonated with me.
Bless you. Well, I think that's we've always wanted to educate, we've always wanted to help, and we understood that other people were going through the exact same situation I went through with regards to their jobs changing overnight, having to then rethink their income structures and so on, and go, okay, right, we still want to offer the community our services, but if people really do feel like they can contribute something, then we also want to give that opportunity as well. We had runners who were like, can we send you some money? I'm like, whoa. What do you want in return? What are we going to try and offer our community? And that offering was a choice. If they wanted to contribute, they can. We were so nervous about launching that, because we were like, we need income.
Yeah, please. Anything.
And the first few bookings came in, like, they're going for free. This is never going to work. But all of a sudden, people were just being very generous with their promotion and also their finances as well. And we decided to keep it and stick with it, and we had some people that were donating £15. At the time of Shopify, we were offering £25, and some people were paying that per session.
But I think that's like London prices, wasn't it? And I think the beauty about like OneTrack was that you were offering a service that people were ultimately not able to get, but they still wanted to have it, right? So being able to have a class, when they couldn't go to their gyms anymore. And it was, I think, having that structure as well in your day, or something to look forward to, that is going to make you feel good, that's going to make you feel better. I never thought running would make me feel good, but it does. You taught me that.
Yeah, I just learned it first.
But no, I thought like it was super inspirational to see how you pivoted so quickly in terms of your business. And what was it like having to coach people? Because it's completely different. Because I'm assuming, I remember you mentioned on the track you're normally coaching people, but they can't hear you as they're going around the track, but it's like you're watching all the time when you're listening to it through your headphones.
It's weird how things work out, because my background is in lecturing in education, so my skill set can be, I can sit and listen if I need to, but also if you want me to talk, I can talk as well. So I've learned to string sentences together over just being in front of 200 people that are saying nothing, and you're supposed to be saying everything. I'm like, oh, okay. So then that was one part of the skill set, and the other part of the skill set was delivering treadmill classes in our gym and talking people through an interval or a block of time where they were just running in front of me, they weren't moving anywhere. And also then doing the track sessions where people were out there on their own for a bit and coming back in. So it's weird how everything kind of joined together, and we created the virtual workouts around all the bits of experience I got from other things. And knowing how people feel from seeing it on the treadmill and also feeling it myself with my own runs, and just verbalizing that and letting people know it's okay to feel those things. That's where I think that my thing is empathy. I feel what you guys feel.
I think it's I think really what resonated with me, so when I first started doing the virtual runs, because honestly you are part of the reason, and OneTrack, like as a whole, like is the reason why I'm, I found running, however crazy that may sound. Well, I have found it because obviously with Joggle it's a huge challenge in itself, but you made me understand myself and the reasons why I was feeling certain things while I was running, which I've never had that before. No one's ever explained it. Like I've always gone out and I'm like, oh, this is horrible. Phoebe from Friends, I look like so uncontrolled, and like this feels vile, and I don't know what I'm meant to be feeling, and I'm like, fuck that, I'm not gonna go do that again. To the point where like literally when Bozza was like, you can only go out for your hour, and my only form of cardio was going to be running, apart from an assault bike, so it really was like, what was the lesser of two evils, assault bike or run?
Brick or hard.
But I used to get really petrified, put my trainers on, like that, the anxiety that I would get, because I knew like how painful it was going to be. And like so many people say the same thing to me. They all resonate. They're like, why would you want to go out running all the time? And I was like, I know, it's horrible. And all of a sudden you had like everyone going out like on the streets. I've never seen so many people like, out there. But yeah, like you actually explaining why you feel a certain way and what you should be doing and how you should be doing it.
The reason why is I used to hate running.
Really?
Absolutely. I used to be petrified of it, used to hate it, and all those things you just said are exactly the things I used to feel.
Really, the anxiety, like shit, could go out there.
The weirdest story is that I came from a martial arts background. Really was my
Really?
Yeah. So I used to do karate from year dot all the way through to about 12, and then jiu-jitsu, and then Wing Chun, and all these different styles, and I found Thai boxing, which our mutual friend Charlie was actually a hero of mine.
Have you ever fought Charlie?
No. Missing a chance.
That's got to stay in.
No. It's like from that background, and I think for you resonate with the idea of the intensity is key. Like your coach always pushes you to that point where
the red zone, right?
You can't breathe, and it's always tough. Or if we're in a sparring situation, it was, if you're not working hard enough, you're not very good. What we were speaking about earlier on before this was how the pendulum swung towards that high intensity. And we're now seeing these splits where people are like, okay, well, it's all about the other end. It's all about recovery and downtime. What we actually know is it's a balance between all of it. And where my thinking came from running was that it was always going to be hard. I was rubbish at it. I was never very good at it. I would always get really out of breath, and my mind would talk to me too much, and I would believe I wasn't very good because my teachers told me I wasn't very good at it, and blah blah blah, all this nonsense that used to come into my own head. I was just running too fast.
Yeah, I remember when you said that. You're like, you're just running too fast, and I was like, I'm not running that fast.
It's your physiology is telling you something, and if you have to slow down, great. In 2 years' time, you'll be faster. But now, right this very moment, we have to slow down. We have to take the talk that our body is telling us. It isn't using words, it's using heart rate, breathing, and all the other things. And we just listen to it and go, if I just slow down a little bit, it'd be much easier. As humans, we are predisposed to absorb more and more stress. That's how we manage to cross the seas, and that's how we managed to migrate ourselves around the world. But I think we can't shake off that side of things, and also we love the hormones that we
those
released.
endorphins. I'm
Right.
like, yeah, smashed it.
Yeah, exactly. We love those hormones because they do great things for our mental state. They actually do some great things for our health as well. But we kind of get this lock, and all of a sudden we've got this. Oh, that's the thing I'm going to do. That's the feeling I want, and that's being told by my peers and gurus that that's the thing I should be doing. And we kind of get locked into this tribe mentality. I think that's where the communities create people, right? So you know, okay, well, I'm now part of the CrossFit community, or I'm part of the high intensity community. We have communities within communities within communities, and we can break it down loads. But
So when you got into running, like, so I'm assuming it was just to do your running for your conditioning parts of like your fighting background, your fighting days. I think that's hilarious. You know, I knew that you did like a little bit of it. So how did you get like fascinated with running then? If you hated it so much, was it because you hated it so much?
Probably. So if you go back further, I studied under a physio for like 7 years, a guy called Martin Haynes, who's very behind the scenes kind of guy, but had a huge knowledge base around how injuries happen and measuring those changes and being able to adapt and correct and so on. And we created an education system based off that. Well, he created an education, I came on board and helped him with it as a student first, and then went on to do things. And I specialised in the foot and ankle. And it was just around the time that barefoot running got famous.
What do you think about that?
Let's come on to that later on.
Okay.
There's a place for it. There you go. We started to get invited to talk about stuff like this because obviously linking the foot and the rest of the body together was where we specialised. And then more and more runners started contacting us around biomechanics of running and what it meant and so on. And I was just starting to look into it more and more and more. So haphazardly, I was lecturing about it from a injury performance side of things, but didn't like to do it. And from then, the lecturing side of things, wanting to work with individuals on their running injury prevention, then started to control more of their programming because of having to adapt their strength workouts and everything else. Then started looking into the physiology side of things, and then started looking into more of that science, then incorporating into what we did, and I just started getting fascinated with it.
It's all the geeky stuff, right?
The nerd stuff went like straight in there, and my physical love for running actually came from training with another fighter in Australia.
Cool.
I always credit him because he reminds me all the time. A guy called John Wayne Parr, absolute legend in the sport, and he rinsed me on a run. He was 40 years old at the time, and I was half his age, and he just absolutely left me for dust. But always waited for me and was really positive about the whole experience. And I was just like, I got through the whole thing and just proved myself I can do it. It's just a little bit tough. And if I slowed down and did that same thing, it would have been easier.
Yeah.
So he was really the spark that then made me get out of my own runs more and do it. But then I used that same thinking and terminologies when the other people were then going out on their runs. Like, this run's really hard. I was like, yeah, but this is exactly why it's hard and why you think those things. Or this
and
run
breaking
seems really
it
easy.
down, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Or this run seems really easy. Why am I not running harder? That's not for now. This is for later. So it just started to add to this story that we were building around our athletes, and that's when the Run Club was born. So
I love that. It's so interesting to see the progression. Because honestly, Fletch, if you'd said to me, because what's it been now? I can't even think how many weeks I've been with OneTrack.
like 19 weeks we've actually
19 weeks? Does that mean I'm a real runner now? I mean, I think I've definitely got better.
Better subjective, so better, it depends, right?
Yeah.
Your mindset towards running
Is better.
has completely shifted, and that is the starting point.
Yeah.
And then everything else is just time. you getting out and putting time on your feet, putting one foot in front of the other one,
Yeah.
is all about the training, and that's why we end up where we want to go, is because of the work we put in previously.
If you like, subscribe if you want to follow the journey further. More importantly, support OneTrack and this amazing, incredible human. Fletch has changed my life in a short space of 19 weeks. Be part of an incredible community, and you get to hear more of these dulcet tones.